Welcome to the More Business, More Life podcast. And I'm super excited. I've got Stephanie Vetter, Melissa Barrett, and Giovanni Godina here with me, Steve Napolitan, to talk about gratitude and not just like the thank yous and, our pleasantries and, having good manners of please and thank you. We're talking about life-changing gratitude, how we can be grateful for many from the smallest moment of our life, like getting out of bed, to some of the big moments in our life and also some of the darkest moments in our life, some of the moments where it's like not what we wanted and it's hurting. And how can we use gratitude to transcend that, to pull ourselves out of that and start living the life that we want, to choose gratitude and create the freedom, the desire that you want in your life. You might be saying, this is crazy talk, Steve. Well, maybe it is, but listen in, and we're going to actually break it down with real life scenarios so that you can see how choosing gratitude has changed all of our lives. And we hope that it changes your life too. So listen in. On today's recording for the podcast, I'm just really excited. And actually, I'll say I'm grateful that we're going to talk about gratitude, right? And yes, the pun is intended. It's so powerful. Gratitude. It's literally changed my life. And I thought I'd just open up with a story. Many of you know that, I have ancestry of workaholics. And I think this is for many immigrants. Our family immigrated from Italy and with very little. Some of my grandparents, different lineage from my father's side to my mother's side, obviously, and they came with different amounts. But several of my grandparents came with like nothing in their pocket or, a few pennies, and they worked really hard. And I'm grateful. There's another gratitude. I'm grateful for what they've provided to create the life that are the generations that we've had here in the United States have been able to have. And at that same time, they worked so much that they weren't really around for their kids. And my father, this was like at an extreme level. He worked so hard. And again, thankful for my father for what he provided. We always had food and we always had something to wear to school. Although there were some times I felt the stress at the house. We were, I guess, what a lot of people call, middle class, almost broke, right? You're making it, but you never know what turn was going to be next. And so I'm grateful for that. But I want to fast forward to this part of me, the boy that didn't want that. I wanted to have to play ball with my dad or, do things with him that I really didn't get to do until I was an adult. And in that moment, as I became an adult myself at 19, I chose to be an entrepreneur. I was, because I blamed it on the workforce. I'm like, my dad worked all the time, and I didn't want that for me. So I thought I'll be an entrepreneur. Little did I know I was going to work even harder. And fast forward 12 years. So from 19 to 31, I worked crazy hours and I became a father myself. And I'm now feeling like a loser, really, really down on myself. I'm like, wow, I've created a mess. And I was working harder than my dad to not work. And I always say I was working so hard to not work, and that doesn't work. It's like trying to dig yourself out of a hole and you just keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And the reality is we got to stop digging, put the shovel down and get a ladder. We have to do something different. And it wasn't until I met my mentor at 31 and he shared with me different things. But the main thing within the first month of working with him, I thought I was doing the big reveal that I was a loser. I had lost $4 million in that 12 years. I had earned and lost 4 million. And I'm sharing that and feeling like a loser compared to other counterparts. And I grew up in Silicon Valley, so there's a lot of competition on startups. And I was watching some of my friends and colleagues like launch all these amazing things. And really from the outside, people thought I was doing the same thing. They're like, wow, look at what you've done. And I wasn't feeling that. I wasn't having it at all. I thought, oh, that's all BS. I'm a loser. I can't keep up with them. And I'm losing all this money and I'm making all these mistakes. And he looked at me and said, how many 31-year-olds do you know that have lost $4 million in their 20s? And I thought, and I was like, I don't I don't know. I don't know anyone. And he said, if you were able to do those things again, would you do it the same? And I said, no. I learned a lot. Yeah, he's like, you learned a lot. You would do it different. And I was like, yep. And in that session, we did a few more things. I'll truncate it there, but that I realized how much I had to be grateful for, and that changed my life. Literally changed my life, my whole trajectory, because for the first time, I was genuinely appreciating myself. You know, the first place to love and be kind, we were talking about this on our last episode, is ourself. And the same goes to gratitude. And that's why we believe with More Business, More Life and our company that we appreciate all results. And our tagline is choose gratitude, create freedom. You can't have freedom if you are treating yourself so poorly. You actually lock yourself up. You actually take away your own freedom. And the first step to overcome this is gratitude. And thanks for giving me permission, well, if you're still listening, I'm assuming you gave me permission to tell you this story to kind of kick off today's conversation. And I'm joined with our co-hosts here, Stephanie, Melissa, and Giovanni. And as I'm grateful for having you all here too to talk about gratitude and how much appreciating all results changes our life. This is not just something I just want to say that, oh yeah, let's just be grateful, say thank you a few more times a day. This is like genuinely appreciating everything in our life. And I do not regret my 20s now. There were times I did regret earlier on, but now I realized I needed to go through all those things. Life happened for me, not to me. And I am a different man because of those things. And so those results matter. And I am absolutely grateful. So when I say gratitude is appreciating all results, emphasis on all, this is my belief that it's everything. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if you can actually find gratitude in that, it transcends you in your life. So I just want to open it up. I don't know for each of you, like maybe since I can remember that moment where gratitude really mattered in my life. So maybe let's start with that. Can you pinpoint, and maybe you can, maybe you can't, but can you pinpoint a moment where you noticed how significant gratitude really played a role in your life? Anybody want to jump in?
I think for me, I don't have a specific time. I think it's for me, I'm just noticing it's a consistent, um, just having a consistent reminder of all the things to be grateful for. Yeah, I don't have like a pivotal moment where it's like just like gratitude just like was overwhelming and I was just grateful, but it's like always noticing the little things when I'm starting to feel down or frustrated, stressed, or whatever it may be. It's just coming back to like just the small things in life, right? I mean, the fact that you woke up this morning and you're listening to this, like that's something to be grateful for, right? The fact that you can actually hear this or even see it, like that's something to be grateful. And like I think a lot of times, um, myself included, just forget about those tiny things, and we always think you have to be grateful for those big, giant things, right? Getting lots of money or a new house or new car or whatever. But I think it really kind of comes down to the small things. And for me, it's, yeah, again, it's just kind of having that reminder, because sometimes I'll go, I'll be very, very consistent, being grateful starting in the morning or whatnot. And then some days or sometimes it'll be like a couple of weeks or something like, man, I haven't really like stopped to think about what I'm grateful for, right? Because you just get caught up in the daily grind, if you will, or the daily, we don't like to grind it out, but just like your daily activities. Um, and sometimes you can kind of just let it go. So yeah, so for me, it's just, always trying to have that consistent and constant.
So important, the small things.
I definitely had an awakening at my first More Business, More Life event where there's a lot of discussion about gratitude. And I think maybe prior to that, it was like my impression of gratitude was, well, yeah, sure, certainly I'm thankful for the good things that I have, but I had never thought of it in that way, like being grateful for every experience that had led me up to that date, because that was, for one, what made me me and what taught me a lot about what I didn't want in life. Like not only what I do want, but exactly what I don't want. And I think um my ability to bring gratitude in my life has been an evolution since then. And I think the time when I've needed it the most is when it's been the hardest for me to have gratitude. So, like you said, there are some things that happen that are difficult, some really big challenges that come up in your life. And, you know, the instinct is not to go to gratitude sometimes. And so it takes some discipline, some awareness to think, okay, this is not what I would like. This is not going the way that I want. What would I like? And then that's when gratitude can come in, and it really changes everything from just how you're feeling in the moment, how you're feeling about a situation, the choices you make moving forward. It all starts from there. And if you don't bring that gratitude in, things aren't going to go, like they're going to keep going the way you don't want them to go. And so that's something that I've seen a lot in my life. And it's very interesting that we're having this call today, because I think, we're putting this energy and this love out to help people notice us too. But it's interesting that the topics always come when I need it the most. So feeling very grateful for this session today. So thank you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, and so I was just going to jump in and I think to Stephanie's point, whenever I think of when gratitude became, present in my life, I think back to, not to tell everybody all of my business, but my divorce. I was married, early. I think I got married at 19 and I was divorced by, I think, 21. But I remember just being so broken at that time and learning to just appreciate the experience. And it was such an intense experience for me, that when you can actually take something from something that is so intense, and certainly, not a positive experience, but really take the experience and transform it into something positive, I think it really becomes the opportunity for you to reach greater happiness, relish in better experiences, and just deal with adversity. Not to mention just the ability to build stronger relationships, because you become more aware and grateful for what you have, and even the negative experiences.
Yeah, and who's to say what's negative or positive? When we're in the moment, we think one way or the other, but then sometimes the reality is, oh wow, maybe there was some positives come out of that. And I often say, Melissa, I've been thought this for years. When I've started to notice when I'm in a storm, metaphorically, right? Something is happening in my life that maybe I didn't want, that's causing some waves. When I immediately started looking for the gift, then it changed my attention, my perception. Where's the gift in this? And then I'm seeking that out instead of looking at the storm, because then we can just get really upset and we just fester that, right? It just builds up and builds up. And this, I've been thinking about this even more, like since for those that don't know, that's listening, in August of 2021, I was paralyzed. So talk about a storm, right? I'm the month before in July, so that was August, that I was August 4th. I'll never forget the day. That's the date when I fell down and parts of my body stopped working. And within 7 days, I was fully paralyzed. The month before that, I did 7 speaking engagements in 4 different states. And normally maybe I wouldn't have taken that load, but I was coming off of everything that happened in 2020 and 2021. And I was like, oh, hey, I did a lot of live events. And so to be able to go back and do that, I was really excited, but also it was a lot of work and some stress. And it came into this moment of being paralyzed. And it's freaky, right? There's dark moments for sure. And there are a lot of tears shed, and there's like fear built up inside of me when you like are someone, that has, I never before that had any medical episodes, never had been hospitalized, none of those things. And then to lose the function of my legs, arms, and my face is pretty freaky. And I'm so grateful. I know I'm not trying to say it over and over just because that's what this show is for, but I truly am grateful that I had gone through everything that I had said and more to learn how important gratitude was, because I can honestly say, and from the bottom of my heart right now, say that one of the main components that helped me heal so quickly was gratitude. It was truly was. I don't know how much longer it would be. Like, from what I understand, people my age, a lot of people that I had Guillain-Barré syndrome came into my life, and you could look it up if you want to look at it. There's, some are more extreme than others. Mine was pretty extreme, to take out my whole body. And I talked to other people in physical therapy while I was going through it, and they were like 3 to 5 years. One guy is pretty athletic like me, is 5.5 years of recovery. And that was like hard for me to hear that. I was like, whoa, is this what's going to happen? And I let that come into my mind, but then I also let it pass through, and I just focused on the moment. But I can remember I was trying to say, okay, what am I supposed to learn? What's going on? I was asking those questions. But I remember as pain started coming into my body when I was in the hospital, the nurses wanted to give me pain medicine right away. And I just remember crying, and my leg was hurting. And I was like, I can feel my leg. Like, I was finding gratitude in that. Okay, this hurts like hell, but I could feel my leg. It was way better than not being able to feel my leg, which was really, really scary. So even in those micro moments, and this goes back to what you were saying, Giovanni, like as I started to be able to like move my fingers, and then ultimately like raise my arm up, my upper body started to come online first, and then my legs, just being able to do those little things, to take a spoon, and put it to my mouth, and eat soup. Those things were so small, and we don't even think about them at all. And now I'm like feeling tremendous amounts of gratitude. And then that brought joy, right? Like happiness in each of those milestones, which you would have never thought, right? You're thinking, this is crazy. Like, I can see how many people could go into a deep depression. But because I chose to be grateful for every step that it was happening, now I'm, at the time of this recording, I'm 19 months out, and I've walked like 3 hours. I've done a 3-hour walk now. I keep pushing the milestones. I'm able to, do push-ups and squats. I haven't done a lot of weightlifting yet. But I'll probably try that again. I had already been transitioning away from crazy weightlifting anyway, but I'm getting my physical body back. And I still have a few things to achieve, but my life, I'm able to pretty much function now, like less than 2 years later, in a really, really good way. And if I didn't go through all those moments of learning about gratitude, I don't think it would have been as smooth, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It's incredible what your mindset, how it can affect things in one way or the other. And something that, we probably take for granted, the abilities that we do have and the things that we do have every day. Like, how amazing to be able, oh my gosh, I could put this spoon to my mouth. I'm so grateful for that. Like, really give some perspective about what life really is. I mean, I can't imagine some of the things, going on in your mind and your heart as you were healing and going through that journey. But it makes so much sense to why your gratitude is more more powerful and you have even more conviction. You always had it, but the leveling up of that and your ability to spread that even more. I mean, I was always influenced it so positively by your gratitude and how it changed your life. And that helped me change my life. But to even see what it's done since then is pretty phenomenal, I will say. I think the thing that stands out for me that I say to myself all the time now is what you just said, like, this is life happens for us, not to us. And when things are hard, it's telling you something, right? Like, you're not supposed to go this way. And that, man, like, what a game changer in just making decisions in life. I mean, when I've been bumping up against things and it's hard and like you're trying to push through because you're like, but this is what I want. It's like something is not, it's not going right because that's not the way you're supposed to go. I think that's a really interesting piece of gratitude too, that like really diving deep and uncovering that and figuring that out has been, oh my gosh, what a tool.
And then we can be so
Yeah.
grateful for some of the most painful moments, because
Yeah.
it's saying, don't go this way.
Right.
Don't go this way.
There's a reason. Let's be grateful if we're noticing, if we're paying attention, and that allows us to change and do something different. Just to be grateful for those signs. Yeah. Amazing.
I was just going to say that I think what's even more profound, as Steve talks about, is choosing gratitude, because it's not just the gratitude, it's an action that you are making intentionally to focus on gratitude and change your perspective. And I think a lot of people might wake up and just be, okay, I'm grateful for this, that, da, da, da.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually choose it kind of creates a whole different opportunity for you to see things differently. So
Great call out.
Yeah.
That's so true.
And what I wanted to say was kind of back on what Stephanie was saying, but it's interesting to, like, you have to have that sometimes you have to have that contrast in life, right? You can be totally healthy and then you like stub your toe or something like that, and like you're like, oh man, that sucked, but oh hey, I'm grateful that I can walk. Or like Steve's story, right? Like more extreme, like, right, you're healthy, and even Steve was probably one of the most grateful people I've ever met in my life, and then for him to have this happen, and then just the gratitude that he has from it, like, it's amazing. Like, but just to have, like, I think for a lot of us, we have to have that contrast, right? Because if things are always like quote unquote good, and then you're just like, oh, okay, and then you don't think about it, but then something happens and you're like, oh man, I'm really grateful that I am able to, get up and walk around. Like, I got I just forgot what it's called, and it's really painful in my foot.
Yeah, gout.
Gout, that's what it was. Like,
Mhm.
I try to push it out of my memory. I don't want that anymore.
It's so
But
good.
yeah,
Just
it's
like
so
forget
good.
about it.
Just forget about it. But it was painful. Like, I literally, like, couldn't walk. Obviously nothing to the extreme of, being paralyzed or anything like that. But just like after that happened, I was just like, oh my gosh, I am super grateful that I have the ability to walk. Like I couldn't imagine not having that. And it's like, and it's finding things, those moments, and like Melissa was saying, choosing that gratitude, right? To have that, because you could have easily gone, anybody can easily go down the rabbit hole, right? Of what was me, why is this happening to me, rather than choosing to see, okay, and not to say you didn't have bad days or anything like that, right? Like, but it's like you can, like, okay, this is happening, where can I find a little sunshine in this? And I think, like you said, I think it really is the difference of like your recovery time versus other people who've had it. And just with my gout, like, just noticing things happening, um where my mind was at when all that was happening, right? A lot of head stuff was going on. It's like, oh, okay. Once I started shifting and like thinking of the stuff that I want and being grateful for things that I have, like, I haven't had it since. And nothing's necessarily changed otherwise, like diet or otherwise, kind of a thing. So yeah.
It's so interesting how the mindset works. And, just for me, to add on that in several things, like to what you just said, Giovanni, to what Melissa just said, and even what Stephanie you're saying, it all culminates into that moment. Like I just remember being at the hospital, and and then my wife was right by my side. She really helped, and I could feel the love from her. Like, and I talked about this on the last podcast, like at a whole nother level. Like I knew she loved me, but it's just like another level of being like right by my side. And then to think that, and that wasn't just her, then it was even like you, Giovanni, and the rest of the team at that time. Jen would tell me, hey, I told them that you're in the hospital, and they said they're going to take care of the company. And and I had trust in that. I'm like, they love me and they love this company. They're going to keep everything going. And I was, because of all that love, because of all the gratitude I had for the people in my life, I was able to actually lay there. And what then happened is I couldn't move my body, and I had been meditating for years. So I just said, okay, well, I'm just going to meditate. And that was one of the first moments of gratitude I can remember. I mean, there was many, but I was like, wow, when would I have ever given myself like a whole day to just meditate? And then another day, and then another day. I mean, like days, weeks, I'm sitting there, and the majority of it, because my eyes, I couldn't blink. I forgot to mention that they taped my eyes shut. So I couldn't look at anything. All I could do is hear what was going on in the room. And all I could do is go inward. And so I just started, and I'm not saying it was constant. I mean, there were times I'm like, when is this going to turn? Like, I would like to move my body. And that's the same thing too. Like when things are not good, like, Giovanni brought up stub my toe or this or that. Then if I dwell on that thing, like I can't move my legs, I can't, what I've been trained on, and this is what also helps, is that it goes back to choice. What do I want? And so then in my meditations, I started visualizing myself walking out, picking up my kids, running. I like to trail run and such. So I like picture myself running up mountains. And, I just started making all these pictures in my mind, and then finding gratitude that I could actually go internal. And I had some of the deepest meditations to this day ever, being there, in those moments. So I'm so grateful. Like I would have never given myself months to rest and recuperate. It wouldn't have happened. I was already one that liked to manage my time and enjoy breaks, but I took a year off. I don't believe I would have given myself permission to take a year off at this juncture in my life. And it was so necessary, and new decisions were made. And I can sit here today and tell you that if I could go back in time and take this all away, if I had the magic to do that, I wouldn't. And I'm being real. I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to make a story out of this and force it. This is real, because I believe I went through like 10 plus years of personal growth in 1 year, 1.5 year, that it wouldn't have happened. So I love who I am right now. I like the man that I've become and becoming. And I would lose that. I don't think there's a way that I could have learned all these things. And I've made some radical decisions that are so different thinking than, a year and a half ago. I mean, that's the level of gratitude and choice. Going back to all these words that we were saying, I'm choosing that. And then in doing that, then it speeds up all the good stuff. It's like, there it all is. And it's also, I think, Stephanie, you were talking about, it's like, we were talking about like when you can be grateful that you're going the wrong way. So something huge, like what happened in my life, can redirect my whole life. And it's like, wow, how many years would I have had to wait if I didn't go through that really tough thing? Because sometimes life can be really loud. I like to often say life will tap you and then it'll slap you. Well, I got slapped. So obviously I wasn't listening to the earlier signs, but then having something big like this happen, it made me much more aware. Like, okay, how could I listen to the little taps so I don't have to get slapped? Can each of you think of like a moment when it was really tough, but then you were able, like, 'cause I know you've been all practicing this more since we've all been discussing this for years now. Giovanni, you kind of brought it up with gout. That wasn't fun, but I guess I'll just leave it to all the three of you. Like what's a big moment that could look really ugly, but you were able to find gratitude and somehow that helped you transcend?
Well, I'll certainly jump in. And I always feel like Debbie Downer for some reason, but I
You're not.
so
At
So
all. Like
you
what
are
I'm talking
not.
I'm talking about being paralyzed here. Like how much more down can you get, right? But
I
it's a
know it's crazy. So, but no, I think so. Today, I don't know if you guys are aware, but today is actually the anniversary of my husband's death. And so we were married, this is after my divorce, but I got remarried and was married for 25 years. And, I talked to Steve a lot about a lot of times your body remembers certain events even before your brain remembers. And I always find myself at this time of year, like weeks earlier, my body will absolutely start doing things, and I'm like, why am I feeling a certain way? And I will realize like, oh, this is what's coming up, or you try to focus on other things. But I have to say, it has become one of those areas where when you lose somebody like a spouse, I think a lot of times, if you have a relationship that's full of love, you miss it. You get sad, and it becomes really even difficult to get up every day in many ways. And so for me, the gratitude around, focusing on the fact that we were together for so long, that not only the love we shared, but the way he loved me, you know. And so there's so many different things now that I just focus on when it comes to how grateful I am for the relationship that we had. Um, and although, you still have some level of sadness, it gives me just so much more joy to really focus on all of the wonderful things that we had, the children we shared and created. There's just so many other wonderful things that I can be grateful for, as opposed to, kind of wallowing in the sadness of the loss.
and it's okay to feel. None of this is meaning not to feel. Those feelings matter. I think it's so important. Like we are in a lot of people in today's society, like we try to ignore our feelings. And I appreciate you sharing. And sharing these stories, Melissa, is not being a Debbie Downer. It's like a realness to our life. And all of us have things in our life, and all of us are going to lose. We have lost loved ones, or we will lose loved ones. This life, this body is not finite. And I think being willing to talk about it is healthy, and it will help others. And so I really just want to appreciate you. And another gratitude moment, be grateful that you're willing to share this story in today's recording. And I'm also grateful for Pete. I was Melissa's past husband, and I was good friends with him too. And so I can appreciate and be grateful for the relationship that I had with him as well, and an impact that he made on my life as another storyteller, and just tremendous things. And it really does help. It does help to move our focus from dwelling on what we've lost, and so we can still feel the feelings. We could still have those emotions. Let us feel those. That means we care. That means you care, right? So it's like, I can even be grateful for that. Wow, I'm feeling really emotional. I'm so grateful that I care. Like just even those simple things can then be like, oh yeah, I care. That's what this feeling is. I care. I loved Pete too. Like, okay. And then just saying that, acknowledging that, and then we can be grateful for the time that we have, and we can also be grateful for the example because these things remind us how special this life is. And we can be more grateful for those of us that are still around us right now that maybe we would have taken for granted because we didn't go through that. So look at all the learning that you've had, Melissa, as well. And even your life choices. And I get to know you and I get to hang out with you. And I'm so grateful for that. And I've seen you change so much since then because we realize more about our life. So
Definitely.
And what's important. Right. So
Absolutely.
Giovanni and Stephanie, either of you want to jump in on something big that's happening in your life and how gratitude helped you shift the frame?
Yeah, I can jump in. And definitely Melissa is not a Debbie Downer. You see her, she's always smiling and laughing. So let that go.
I try.
It's absolutely
We're
true.
grateful for your smile.
Exactly.
Yes.
Seriously, and the laughs
Biggest, most
and
beautiful
everything.
smile.
Yeah, honestly, I think for
Appreciate
me, the most recent thing is kind of the gout situation. Like that was like probably the most painful that I've ever experienced. I've never broken any bones in my body. I've sprained an ankle once or twice maybe. And I'm an active person, so like not being able to move, like it was like the third day in, like I was like scooting down the stairs. And I was like, I'm done. Like in my head, I'm just screaming, like, I'm done with this. Like, this is horrible. And then I reflect back with Steve because like you were going through all this stuff. I'm like, oh man, and I really honestly had gratitude. I'm like, wow, Steve's mindset is freaking power. You're like a wizard. I was like, because like this is just like my toe and it hurts, but like it's just my toe and like I can't walk and do, but like it was probably, yeah. So it was probably like the most painful thing I've ever experienced. And like it went on for like 3 or 4 days until they tried to give me something or whatnot. I was like, yeah, I don't want this stuff. And found a natural thing that helped clear it up in like a day. And like, but from that moment is just being grateful for being able to move. And I had it in the past, but not as much as like, just like, man, it is nice to be able to walk, that I have that ability. And like, it's a total different mindset shift. And again, it comes back to those little moments. I found a meditation. It was like a gratitude meditation, like a quick 10-minute one. And the lady asked, start off with the meditation is 10 things you're grateful for. And then she gives you some time to do it. And then the next thing is like, hey, did you also think about these things? And she like busts down to like that you're able to like be here and breathe, like just taking a moment to like the fact that you can do that and you have fresh, clean air to breathe, like taking those moments like that. So like having that contrast again in life, that big pain, to then be like, hey, Giovanni, you have the ability to like move around and be mobile, and like don't let that go by, because you never know when you're going to lose it, when it can be lost or taken away from you or whatever it may be. And so that's probably just like the most recent thing that's just kind of been the biggest shift in recognizing the gratitude in my life. And again, just those small things. So
Yeah.
I love it. Sitting here trying to think of some big moments, and there's been several, but thinking about something a little bit more like global with my life. I think before I met you, Steve, and before I really brought gratitude into my life, I didn't have a very high opinion of myself. I maybe had put that on as like a costume sometimes, that I had some confidence, but I really carried around a lot of regret about, some of my earlier years. Like in my 20s, I didn't chase my dreams. I didn't, finish my college education. I opted to be a party girl. Like that was something that I wanted joy. I wanted fun in my life. And so I didn't hang out with the best crowd. And it even makes me a little emotional to talk about it now, because I think I haven't thought about it in so long. But there's a choice, or there's a point when you choose that you want more for your life, and you start to make some different changes, and you start to make, go towards things that are more positive, healthier, whatever that might be. And even though I had made some of those changes in my life and I had, things were going good and I was having some success in my career early on in marketing, I never really let go of just some of the shame I think that I had. I think that's the word that stands out for me. And it felt like something that everybody could see all the time. Even though I know that's not true, but it was something that I could be like just waking up for the day and I would think about it like, oh, that was ugly. That was not who I wanted to be. That was not me. But I carried that for so long. And it wasn't really until we started working together and I did bring gratitude. And like you talked about, yes, we could make lists and lists about how grateful we are for the sun and our home and our clothes. And there's so many, like Giovanni said, little things to be grateful for. And that is so helpful to think about those, but to also be grateful for ourselves and what we've done and the choices we've made. And I can be grateful for the fact that I didn't stay in that life. Like I chose to surround myself with better people and, to go after success and to go after the things that I wanted. And so those were all things that I did too. So yes, I made those other choices and I had a life that was maybe not what I would want to present to the world, but to be grateful for those experiences and for the things that you did, because now I know like that is what led me here. Maybe if I didn't, like, who knows where I would be. And I am happy with who I am now. And I am happy with where I'm at and where I'm going. And I'm excited about the future. But that was a hard thing at first to think about being grateful for stuff like that, for things, past lives, if you will. But once I had brought that into my life, I was able to let it go. Like it doesn't keep me up at night anymore. It doesn't pop into my head and make me shrink and go small like it used to. Like it's given me some freedom, like literally she's choosing to be grateful about it has given me some freedom for it. And I think that's probably the biggest impact that it, could have had on my life. It started there, really.
It's so beautiful to hear. And freedom is our perception. So you can change your mind and find your freedom. So it's because we have the freedom of choice, which is the most powerful thing, right? Like even me in the hospital bed, you could say I had a lack of freedom because I couldn't even move, right? It's like being locked up inside your body. But then I had the choice of what I could perceive in my mind. And because my eyes were taped shut, I didn't even have to close them, and I just could think inside my mind. And I appreciate you sharing that, Stephanie. Those are some words I haven't even heard you say to this point. And
I haven't talked about it.
Yeah, and we've known for each other for years, and it really is appreciating, again, all results of our life. And I would say from everything I've seen and the thousands of people I've been around and doing this work, that you wouldn't be the woman that you are if you didn't go through that. None of us would.
I know that now.
People. Yeah.
True.
It's so powerful. It's so powerful. I want to add a layer here that maybe everyone can take away, and then we can all comment on this. But my mentor that I brought up that helped me find gratitude, the main event after having that discussion about me losing money and me feeling like a loser, we did an exercise that one of my mentors, because he had many mentors, as have I. But one of his mentors is Carl Buchheit, who became my mentor years later, because he made such an impact on my mentor's life. And I was located near him, so I got to spend time with him for years, and he's become a friend. And I've done every class that I could from him, I believe, unless he has a new one popped up that I didn't notice. But ultimately, to the point, he says, you choose what you want, you take what you get, and then you choose again. And it made sense to me, because what Carl's saying is that when you don't take what you get, then you stall your life out, right? Because now you're resisting, you're pushing it away, you get stuck. And that's what I was like, okay, I'm a loser, I've lost all this stuff, I'm not accepting what is. And then I actually stifle my choices. then it's like, okay, I'm in that. Like, you know, how you were saying, Stephanie, you'd wake up every day and say, oh, people must see the shame on me, even though it's like invisible, right? But we're like hiding it, putting on that costume, like you said. And I did that too. You know, we put on all this armor to be who we think others want us to be. And the reality is, really, we need to let all that go and let our inside shine, right? Like, you really are meant to be this person and be who you are and be proud of that. And so it's in this marker. I want to slow it down. So we choose what we want, take what we get. And this is where I added the word gratitude for me. From everything that I experienced through these exercises, I was like, wait a minute, when I seek the gratitude in the result that I'm getting, then I more quickly can realize the gift of what is coming to me. It might not be what I ordered. So it's like you order something and then it doesn't come the way you asked the restaurant to prepare it. But in that moment, you're grateful for that meal and you eat it anyway. You know, and that's what it's about, right? Or maybe don't eat it, you fast. You're like, that's not what I ordered, I choose not to eat it, thank you. But you're not throwing the plate up and being grumpy. I'm going to sit here until I get the meal that I ordered right now, you know. And then it's like, well, it's not possible. We don't have that. You're asking for something that's out of season or whatever it is, right? Like, we don't know. And see, that sometimes we don't even know. We don't know that we're asking for something that's not that time in our life. There are things that I asked for at a very young age that have now come to fruition many years later. And I realize now that I wasn't prepared. If I would have gotten that gift earlier, I wouldn't have done what I should do with it. So sometimes our requests are delayed. So just, again, choose what you want, take what you get, literally, and be grateful for it. And then you get to choose again. So life is learning, which is what we're going to talk about on our next podcast. How does this interpolate into growth? Because everything is learning. Carl says this as well, there's no failure, there's only feedback, right? So everything is new information, and then we choose again. So you choose, take what you get, find your gratitude, choose again. And then you take what you get, find your gratitude, choose again, take what you get, be grateful, choose again. And the more rapid you do that, guess what? The more rapid you get the life that you want. Instead of sitting in there in that, oh, poor me, like this has happened to me. And then you're stuck. And then we wonder why life doesn't happen the way we want. We're on this treadmill of hell that we're choosing. So because you're choosing to not accept, and then you don't move forward. So in that, how has gratitude allowed each of you to move forward? You know, just think about that. By choosing gratitude, how has it propelled your life more quickly than you could have imagined?
Well, I think for me, it's the allowing and of letting go of whatever it is, right? When you can, like you just said, when you can let go of whatever it is, and that really comes back to that resistance. Like, when just you listening right now, like, think of a moment or a time when you're resisting something and how much more you got of that same thing. The more you resist it, the more it comes at you, the more you get of it. And so having that gratitude, and it's not to say that things don't suck, right? Or that they're, like, you could be, I mean, you could literally say, Steve, getting Guillain-Barré syndrome sucked. Like, that's not, you don't want to wish that on anybody, right? Yeah, like, you don't. Yeah, it sucks. But it's like, it's that having that gratitude allows you to more easily let go of those feelings and focus on what it is that you want. And like you say, where focus goes, energy flows, right? So if you're solely focusing on the pain or the challenge or the thing you don't want, that's what your energy is going to go to, and that's what you're going to get. But if you can allow that to subside, have your 5-minute wallow in it, because it's okay to, once again, it's okay to feel things. It's not pushing it away. It's okay to feel them, and then choosing to allow that to go by its own, the wayside, and then having gratitude in that thing, and then moving past and focusing on what you want. So for me, it's that having gratitude allows you, or me, to let go of the unwanted things, right? We don't have to carry the boulders up the hill. We don't have to carry any boulders, right? Carry feathers. You can carry whatever you want. Carry your kids. You can whatever it is that you want. You don't have to carry that big old boulder on your back going up the hill.
Well, I want to hear from Stephanie and Melissa too. I just want to add one thing to what you're just saying, because just since I brought up the whole Guillain-Barré syndrome, and we're talking about that so much today, and it was such a big part of my life. But imagine if I was like, I don't want to be paralyzed. No, why is this happening to me? And I was repeating that in my mind constantly, in my mind. And I'm just thinking about that. I'm going to perpetuate. That's that stuck thing. I'm resisting that I'm being paralyzed. Now, naturally, I'd want that, right? Like, it's like, well, no, I don't want to be paralyzed. I never wanted to be paralyzed. I never asked delivery for that I am aware of. Maybe my language patterns, I accidentally wish this into my life. I don't know. But what I can tell you is that I chose to be in more of an accepting, saying, okay, well, this is happening, right? Acknowledge that. And it does suck. And it did make me cry. Like, I mean, literally, I was crying, I don't know if it was every single day, but there was a lot of tears shed, and it was like hard. It was really hard. And, and then I couldn't even see my kids. Like during that time, we're still during the whole pandemic part. And so wouldn't let my kids come see me at the hospital at the beginning. I think at one point they finally I think my son got to come because he's older. I can't remember, but most of the time I only got to see my wife. And so that was hard. All those things were hard. And then in my mind, again, I said, okay, what do I want? So I did the same thing. It's like, okay, this came into my life. I'm going to accept that. Now, what would I like? And what I would like is I would like to walk out of this room. And I'm not like nurse. They would bring other nurses in, and some of the nurses that were my nurses, like one of the nights and wasn't my nurse another night, they still came in to say hello to me. And I'm sure they do it with other patients too, but they're like, wow, I can't believe you. Like when I refused the pain medicine, they're like, thought it was like a zoo animal. Like they came in, they're like, look at this guy, he's a crazy fool. Like, and I was like, no, I want to feel this. I can feel my body. I'm keeping it. You're not taking this away from me. Do not numb me. Do not numb me. And I didn't want to lose my mind either, because that's all I had. And if you give me drugs and I get confused and I'm out, then how am I going to meditate? How am I going to heal myself? I actually took it personal. I'm healing myself. I'm going to make my body better. I'm going to think and feel my legs and my arms, and I'm going to move them. And I just thought again of what would I like? And I just kept choosing every day. I kept choosing to live, choosing to get my body back so I could be a father, a husband, a friend, a leader, whatever, all the things that I wanted. And so I know I took extra minutes here, Shane, but it just was like really.
No, I think you brought up important part. And then I just wanted to kind of add to that is for you listening is that like when Steve was saying, like he could have said, I don't want to be paralyzed. Like you're focusing on paralyzed, like being paralyzed, right? Even if you're saying you don't want it, it's still focusing on being paralyzed. But it's when you ask yourself, and it's a great question, like what would I like? Like I want to walk, right? That walking part is what we want to focus on. I just wanted to kind of point that out for people because you can be saying you don't want something in the reverse of that. That's what you want, right? Like what you really want is to walk. But when you say, I don't want to be paralyzed, that's not the same as saying I want to walk, right? When I'm saying I don't want to be paralyzed, you're telling yourself and the universe you want to be paralyzed because that's all it hears is paralyzed. When you say walk, so for when you're doing this kind of thing, you're just focus on what you want rather than not having the I don't want this. I want this. Just wanted to kind of point that out for people.
It's very, very powerful. Yeah. Stephanie and Melissa, where's a big, moment where gratitude really helped you move into what you wanted instead of dwelling in what you didn't want? What would be a moment that you would pick to highlight in your life?
Well, I think I would pick the turning point in my life, which after my husband passed away, I think there was a point in time where I was trying to figure life out, like, who am I? Because I've been this married couple for 25 years. Now I'm a widow at 49, and I'm, just really trying to figure out, okay, my kids are grown, I have grandkids, like, who am I exactly? And, to Giovanni's point, it's like, what do I want? But I found myself, I was working all the time. I come, of course, from a workaholic family as well. And so it's real easy to dive into your work. And then, you start to look around and realize, like, what is life exactly? Like, I'm only here for a certain period of time. Like, how do I want to actually spend my time? And for me, I noticed that that gratitude, it's like, when you were talking about where your focus goes, energy flows. To me, you have so much less energy when you are not resisting things. And so you have the ability to receive so much more. And, it's like your life is so much easier because you're not carrying those boulders, as Giovanni says. So, and I tend to notice things differently now. Just appreciate all of those. But I think for me, it was when I decided, and I'll never forget when, I was going through coaching with Steve. And, I said, I think I really want to quit my job. I've been there for almost 30 years. And, I think I had a great job. I enjoyed it, loved it. But I was like, I feel like I need to move on and do something else. And, just spend my life doing what I want to do as opposed to working, 18 hours a day. And Steve said, okay, well, when are you going to quit? And, of course I was like, oh, February, whatever. I just kind of picked a date because I was like, oh, I can, and maybe this was like, I don't know, November or something. I don't remember the time frame. And Steve looked at me and he goes, why February? And I literally did not have an answer. I didn't really have an answer. And so, it's nice when you have people in your life that will ask you questions. And it's like, I don't know. I hadn't double clicked on that really, but it just seemed like a good date. And he was like, why not December or whatever? And so to me, it's like, I love that when you get to realize how grateful you are. I am so grateful that I got to work for a wonderful company for 30 years. Now it's time to do something else. I want more in my life, not just work, and so the energy, I notice, even I talk to my grandchildren differently. I have little ones that live with me, and it's like, don't do this, don't do that. But now it's like, I would really like it if you did this instead. And so, you just transform instead of focusing on stop moving around, be still, whatever. It's like, I would really appreciate if your behavior was this way or, whatever. And I do notice that the behavior will start to change. Maybe not overnight, but it's like things change. The energy is different.
So beautifully to say, and you have the space to do that because you chose this.
Yes.
So beautiful.
You just said something so important, like the ability to have gratitude so that you can let go of something. It does affect your energy, and so important, because I know I'm just even thinking about, what I just shared upon and being able to let go of that. It changes your energy, which then impacts not only you and how you feel about yourself and your work and your ability to be productive and successful, but all the relationships and stuff you have in your life. I think there was another situation. It was, oh God, maybe 6 years ago, where I felt I won't go into the whole details. I know we don't have a lot of time, but felt very wronged by somebody in my life. And it was something that hurt not just me, but my whole family. And that was really hard to let go of, but it, like, to have that anger, to just be able to forgive essentially, and try to find the gift in it, and try to find the gratitude, which was that, we had let go of that part of our life, and it allowed us to have something really beautiful and special after that. To be able to see that was huge, because it's almost like you can't appreciate what's in front of you unless you can let go of the past and release that negative energy, which is really, I think that ability to forgive even when somebody hasn't apologized or somebody hasn't asked for it. Yeah, I think that, just looking back, almost not even realizing that that's what happened, but to do that in that way and to let go, you have to be able to let go of the stuff that doesn't go right, in order to have what you want. So,
It just made me think, Stephanie, is that's also another slap, right? It's the tap, tap, slap. And I've had this so many times in my life. I don't see the small indication that maybe I should do something different. And it even is in Jim Collins' book, Good to Great. The reason a lot of people don't become great is because they settle for the good, right? And it's easy because good can be good, right? It's like, oh, this is good, and I like it this way. And then yeah. And so then we could stay in it for years, even though there's this greatness in our life. And so this is something where we can all be grateful for these things that were really bad, right? And if you think about it, maybe if that thing that was ugly and didn't feel good, or we were betrayed, or someone actually messaged me and said, hey, I'm here to talk because I know what it's like to have have your body betray you, and I was like, okay, well, that's a perception on that too, and I'm grateful that they reached out, and I love that. And I also said, I'm going to choose not to think that my body didn't betray me. It actually gave me all these gifts, right? Just like any other thing that could happen in our life, because it speeds up and you can become great, and we don't all want the slap. So even in this, that's why the turtle is so important to all of us, because when we slow down, we can see the changes, the things that could be better in our life, and not accept the goodness, actually allow us to be great. And these slaps that you're bringing up, Stephanie, allowed your family to have this new thing that's even better, that you wouldn't have chose because it was good the way that it was. So we don't even think to change it.
yes, I think that was the lesson that you coached me on the most. I can't even recall how many times you did say that to me, like, life's tapping you, don't get slapped. And what if this thing that you thought was a slap was actually just a tap? Like, what if there is a bigger slap that's coming? And I remember going, oh God, that would be horrible. So yeah, pay attention to those things.
And I probably could bring that up because I'm the one that no pain, no gain that we've been trained on. I would literally go through the pain, and then you would get slapped harder and harder. And it's like, are you crazy? Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm telling you to go the other way, and you keep coming. And I just want to say, in all of this, it doesn't mean give up on your dreams. That's not what any of us are saying. You like follow your dream. We're all following our dreams, but we're being willing to change the road to get there. The road, the river, the air, whatever way you're going to get there, underground, tunnel, trains, like whatever it is.
Be open.
Yes, to change the path. And then, because see, the universe, I believe, whatever word you want to put on that knows a better way than us. So when we can listen to these things, we'll find the path that's meant for us instead of trying to force it. And in that force, we're there by resisting, and we get ourselves stuck. And then look at all the things all of us shared today, overcoming them. And by choosing gratitude, it's the stepping stone. I believe when you choose gratitude and all these results that we all shared, and you can all think, whoever's listening right now, think of the things in your life that maybe even to today you still are upset about, that maybe you could be grateful for. And I can promise you, I know it's a strong word to say promise, but if you do that, you'll actually see the beautiful things in your life that are coming from those hard times. They were meant to show you a different way. You know, sometimes a roadblock is a new direction, right? That's why they have that saying, when one door closes, another one opens. But when you're banging on the door, trying to break it down, you can't even see the other door.
So true.
I'm so
Yeah, I think
grateful.
I was just going to say, I think the other thing that you start to realize is that you can be a gift to others. And I think a lot of people don't, I know I didn't think was giving gifts. But when you start to have gratitude, you start to realize that you're on a path and there are other people behind you, and you want to be able to help them and mentor them. So, it's like you're the gift.
And then that's a gift that gives to you, because the more people we help and teach, so many people have said it. Zig Ziglar said,
Yes.
help as many people get what they want, and you'll have all what you want. And, even in teaching, if you want to learn something, read about it. If you want to get good at it, do it. If you want to master it, teach it. So even there, we can be grateful to go to a level of mastery by giving these gifts. And this is a gift here too. And I hope you're receiving it, because we're all sharing our hearts here and being open and vulnerable. And so I'm grateful for all of you, and I'm so grateful that Stephanie Vetter and Melissa Barrett and Giovanni Godina are here to share with me and all of you. And we're planning on keep doing this. So if you got value from today, please let us know what was valuable, so we can mark that and know that we should do more of that. And please let us know what you would like to learn more about, so we can guide future episodes. And the way you can let us know this is to comment, to give a review for our podcast, to like this, and continue to subscribe. And we promise to keep giving our all and give you gifts that we can give, so that you can have the life that you want. So I'm grateful for all of you joining me today, co-hosting this. And I'm also thankful for all the listeners, so that, like Melissa said, then we can actually realize the gift, because you can only realize the gift when someone actually receives. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All of you.
Beautiful. All right. Well, next week, we're going to talk about growth. How does all this make up into a growth mindset, and how we can learn from everything? So we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode, or hearing you, seeing you, whichever way you're listening.